Welcome to Paradise on Earth, Bali, an island where every morning begins with the sound of temple bells. You'll find green rice terraces glow under the sunrise, surfers ride through waves in Uluwatu, and yogis stretch under the palm trees of Ubud. It's where Australians come for the weekend getaways, where Europeans stay for long holidays, and digital nomads swear they found freedom. Choose your own cheap villas with infinity pools, cafes that promise the best smoothie bowls on earth, sunset cocktails on Seminyak Beach. To outsiders, Bali feels like an endless summer. But look closer, and the picture changes. That infinity pool villa, built where a rice field once fed families. That smoothie bowl cafe, serving food priced far beyond what locals earn in a day. Next to that co-working hub is an unfinished construction site, one of hundreds left behind after investors pulled out. Traffic clogs the narrow roads built for motorbikes, not tourists. Plastic waste piles up on the beaches after the tide goes out. Now, Bali is beautiful, but behind the postcard facade is an island under pressure, an island carrying the weight of outsiders' fantasies. And that's where the story begins. Today on Side Notes, we take you beyond the paradise into the side of Bali most people, maybe even you, prefer not to see. The information in this episode has been compiled from publicly available sources, including news articles, reports, and social media posts. While we strive for accuracy, some details may be subject to interpretation, speculation, or change over time. This episode is intended for informational and educational purposes. If you appreciate what we do, please like and share and subscribe to our channel. To understand the Bali that digital nomads now flock to, it helps to go back in time to the days before the polished villas and sunset cocktails. In 1965, Indonesia was gripped by political chaos. President Suharto's military was moving to consolidate power after an attempted coup in Jakarta, and suspicion fell on members of the Indonesian Communist Party, or PKI, and anyone associated with it. Now, for Suharto and his allies, eliminating the PKI was a way to secure legitimacy and remove their strongest political rival. The PKI had millions of members across Indonesia, including in Bali, and its influence extended into trade unions, student groups, and rural communities. The military portrayed the communists as a dangerous threat to the nation's stability and religion, fueling fear and anger. Now, Bali, which is a Hindu-majority island, unlike much of the rest of Indonesia, which is predominantly Muslim, was not spared. Entire villages were swept into the anti-communist purge. Men, women, and even teenagers accused of sympathizing with the PKI were executed. Many of the bodies were buried in mass graves, and families were erased without a trace. Estimates suggest around 80,000 Balinese, roughly 5% of the population, were killed between December 1965 and early 1966. The killings were said to be carried out by local militias and military units, fueled by suspicion, rumors, and political opportunism. Many of the individuals killed were suspected communists, but these were accusations and they were largely based on hearsay. Locals lost family members, neighbors, and key community leaders. Land ownership became disrupted because those who were killed or imprisoned often had their property seized, redistributed, or left abandoned. The official narrative under Suharto's new order erased the massacre from history, leaving future generations largely unaware of the scale of what had happened. Now, by the late 1960s and early 1970s, as Indonesia stabilized, Bali was marketed to the world under the Suharto leadership as a tropical paradise. Tourism campaigns highlighted its lush rice terraces, sacred temples, and vibrant traditional dances, a stark contrast to the recent violence. The real rise of tourism advertising in Bali began after 1969 when its international airport opened and the island started developing its facilities to accommodate tourists. In the 1970s, Bali saw a surge of Australian surfers and backpackers arriving at Kuta Beach, attracted by its waves and affordable stays. Small bungalows and budget hotels were built to meet the demand, and Kuta quickly evolved into a center of surf culture. The 1972 surf film Morning of the Earth cemented Bali's reputation, promoting its beaches to a global audience and sealed Bali as a surfer's paradise. From the 2000s up until just before the COVID pandemic, Bali experienced unprecedented growth as an international tourist destination. The island expanded beyond surf culture, attracting luxury travelers, wellness seekers, and digital nomads. Areas like Semina and Ubud became synonymous with upscale resorts, yoga retreats, and fine dining, while Canggu emerged as a hub for expats and creatives. In 2010, the world saw Eat, Pray, Love and watched Julia Roberts fall in love with Bali, and the island's tourism was booming as it had never before. Foreign visitors were drawn to Bali as a destination for spiritual healing and self-discovery, unaware of the scars beneath the surface. By the late 90s, Bali had fully rebranded from a place of political chaos into an international symbol of paradise. And in the 2000s, another wave of outsiders began arriving. Not only tourists, but people who wanted to stay. The island became the ultimate destination for digital nomads. Bali offered everything the lifestyle promised: affordable rent compared to Western cities, fast-growing internet infrastructure, and the allure of working from a poolside villa or a bamboo cafe. For many, this was the escape that they had been searching for, an answer to corporate burnout, sky-high rents back home, or simply the dream of reinvention in an island utopia. The Indonesian government leaned into this momentum. Tourism was already a cornerstone of Bali's economy, but officials saw long-term stays as a way to stabilize income all year round. Over the years, visas were adjusted to encourage longer residencies, co-working hubs were growing, and tax incentives quietly opened doors for foreign businesses to root themselves on the island. For example, the remote worker visa was officially launched in April 2024, offering a year of stay for digital nomads, and if you make at least $60,000 from a foreign company while working in Bali, you enjoy it tax-free. So who came? The average Bali import was young, creative, and mobile. Freelancers, startup founders, crypto traders, influencers, yoga teachers, people with more dollars, euros, and pounds to spend in weeks than a local family could earn in a year. They shared moments of their new lives online, feeding the dream to millions of people around the world. According to official figures, as of 2021, about 110,000 foreigners were living on the island. The largest groups came from Russia, the United States, Australia, the UK, and Germany. Anecdotal and media reports highlight a growing Russian presence, especially post-2022, around the time of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, with an influx of approximately 60,000 Russian arrivals in 2022 alone, many of whom appear to be settling long-term. Now, for many Australians, Bali has become almost a second home. Just a few hours flight away, often cheaper than flying within their own country, it offers guaranteed sunshine during Australia's winter, world-class surf, and a cost of living that makes villa stays and daily dining out affordable. Now, on the surface, it was a win-win. Bali became a global hub for entrepreneurship and creativity, while nomads enjoyed a lifestyle that they probably couldn't afford back home. But just that beneath glossy surface, another story was brewing, one of tension, imbalance, and consequences that would reshape the island once again. Bali is known for its calm and gentle people. Balinese culture is rooted in peace, harmony, and respect, both for each other and for the sacred. Every morning, Balinese women place woven offerings filled with flowers and rice on doorsteps, shop fronts, and sidewalks. Temples sit at almost every other corner, incense always burning, a quiet reminder that life here is tied to something bigger than the self. Indonesians and the Balinese value politeness and humility. You don't raise your voice in public. You don't really show anger. Even in traffic jams, horns are used to warn, not to intimidate or scold. It's a culture of keeping the harmony. But then there are the visitors, and sometimes they don't exactly match that energy. In recent years, Bali has seen a wave of scandals involving foreigners misbehaving. Each one sparks outrage on the island and a flood of commentary online. Take March 2022, a Russian influencer, Alina Fazlieva, posed naked at a 700-year-old sacred tree in Tabanan. For locals, the banyan tree isn't just Instagrammable, it's holy, and the backlash was swift, and she was deported. But the damage was already done. Many Balinese felt like their culture was being treated as a prop. And then there was Canadian actor Jeffrey Cragen, who in 2022 posted a video of himself dancing naked on Mount Batur, one of Bali's most sacred volcanoes. Again, the symbolism mattered. Mountains in Balinese Hinduism are considered the homes of the gods. Cragen was arrested and also deported. As one Balinese priest said in response, when foreigners treat holy places like playgrounds, it feels like our beliefs mean nothing to them. Australians, one of Bali's largest group of foreign visitors, have had their share of viral incidents too. Videos circulated of a drunk Australian behaving recklessly in Kuta in 2019, while others harassed police officers trying to enforce helmet laws. For locals who are taught from young never to confront authority, watching foreigners scream in an officer's face was shocking. And then the Russian visa scandal. Bali saw an influx of Russian nationals who overstayed tourist visas and tried to work illegally. Reports surfaced of Russians opening unauthorized businesses, from tattoo parlors to scooter rentals. When speaking to the press, Indonesians vented their frustration. We know they're making money out of it. It's unfair because they don't pay taxes. Authorities need to take care of this. The government responded by cracking down, deporting dozens. Each of these cases might look isolated from afar, just another crazy tourist story. But when you zoom in, they show the cracks forming between locals and foreigners. On one side, a culture built on patience, humility, and respect. On the other, foreigners who sometimes act like Bali is theirs to bend and break. That tension is hard to ignore. Scandals might grab headlines, but the bigger story isn't about a few bad tourists. It's about what happens when hundreds of thousands of foreigners stay longer, live differently, and slowly reshape the island. In 2024, Bali saw a 40% increase in the number of digital nomads residing on the island compared to the year before. It's estimated that over 3,000 digital nomads now live there, according to the number of visas granted annually. Bali wasn't built for this. The island is small, about the size of Brunei, with a population of just over 4 million. Yet in a normal year before the pandemic, Bali welcomed over 6 million foreign visitors. Many come for a week, some stay for months, even years. At first, the pool was simple: low rent, tropical sunsets, surf breaks, and a relaxed way of life. But over time, the long-term presence of outsiders has severely disrupted the lives of locals. Entire villages have been converted into Airbnb hubs. In Canggu, rice paddies that once fed families have been bulldozed to make way for luxury villas or hip cafes catering to foreign tastes. A few years ago, rice fields used to stretch as far as the eye can see. Now, there are only small patches of rice fields left, which are completely surrounded by houses and buildings. Bali resident Wayan Aditya told CNA. The number of rental properties have been growing between 20 and 27% every year, but so have rental prices. For many locals, the cost of renting and working in Bali has become impossible. A room in a guest house might cost $250 to $400 a month. The minimum wage of an average worker in Bali, $187. But not all projects are completed, often stalled due to legal disputes or funding issues by contractors. Abandoned or half-built villas litter the landscape in places like Canggu and Uluwatu, leaving empty shells that disrupt village life and sometimes become eyesores or hazards. While tourism is Bali's lifeline, it's also a trap. Many Balinese now depend on jobs that only exist to serve foreigners: waiters, villa cleaners, surf instructors. But at the same time, more expats have been caught working illegally and running businesses without permits. For locals struggling to find stable work, it felt like outsiders were taking slices of the pie meant for them. Bali's ceremonies, its temples, and its offerings are still everywhere, but in the most tourist-heavy areas, they're often pushed to the side. Weddings are rescheduled to avoid traffic jams from beach parties. Offerings are crushed under scooters. And some locals feel their identity is being repackaged as content or social media. The government has tried to fight back. In 2023, officials proposed a ban to prevent foreigners from renting motorbikes after countless accidents. A good tourist guidebook was launched, laying out do's and don'ts. Don't enter temples without proper clothing. Don't climb sacred trees. Don't use visas to work illegally. Officials even floated the idea of a tourist quota, fewer visitors but higher quality ones. But enforcement has been messy. Police set up task forces to patrol Canggu and Ubud, and yet misbehavior still pops up weekly. Deportations make headlines, thousands more slip through the cracks. And beneath all of this is a question many Balinese quietly ask. Is the island still theirs, or has it become a playground for the Western world? Look, I know it's easy to point fingers at tourists and bad behavior, but to be fair, not every foreigner who comes to Bali disrespects the culture. Some expats and long-term visitors have made positive contributions. Many have invested in businesses that employ locals, supported conservation projects, even worked alongside Balinese communities to preserve traditions. Organizations like IVHQ provide opportunities for foreigners to teach English in Ubud schools. Groups like Sungai Watch, they organize regular beach and waterway cleanups, engaging both tourists and locals in an effort to combat plastic pollution. To some, Bali isn't just a playground, it's home, and they treat it with care. But the bigger picture is more complicated. In some parts of the island, especially in hotspots like Canggu and Seminyak, the Balinese identity has been quietly eroded. Walk through those neighborhoods and you'll see Australian-style brunch cafes, yoga studios with foreign instructors, and menus in English and Russian before Bahasa Indonesia. And then there's the way foreigners talk about Bali. Terms like Bali belly, the phrase tourists use to describe food poisoning, carry a quiet racial undertone. It frames local food and hygiene as dirty or dangerous, while ignoring the fact that tourists often get sick from eating carelessly or drinking irresponsibly. The phrase has stuck, and to many Balinese, it feels like yet another way their home is being dismissed as low quality and unclean. The idea of cheap Bali is another soft spot. To foreigners, it might mean just affordable holidays, but behind that is a layer of privilege. Outsiders treat villas, drivers, and even the labor of locals as bargains, without thinking about what it costs the Balinese themselves. While families struggling to buy land or keep up with rising rents, being told their island is cheap cuts deep. Tourism, even long-term stays, aren't inherently bad. It funds livelihoods, funds infrastructure, and has brought Bali international recognition. But when privilege, entitlement, and disregard for culture pile on top of these benefits, it raises a bigger question. How can we support a beautiful place like Bali and truly appreciate its culture without taking over the island? The story is not about misbehaving tourists or abandoned villas. It's learning how to keep that fragile balance between a paradise people dream of and a home that millions of Balinese call their reality. Tourism can be a boon to an island. It brings jobs, cultural exchange, and opportunities. But unchecked, it can also reshape a community in ways that leave lasting scars. As visitors, you hold power in how you engage with a place, choosing where to stay, how you spend, and how you treat the people who live here all have a ripple effect. Respecting local customs, learning even a few words of Bahasa Indonesia, supporting family-run warungs over multinational chains, and being conscious of the resources we use are small actions that add up. Equally important is mindset. Bali is not cheap or Instagrammable or a playground that's only made for outsiders. It is a living, breathing culture that has endured for centuries, and it deserves more than being reduced to a backdrop for your TikTok videos. So the next time you step off the plane onto this island or anywhere else, ask yourself, am I leaving this place better than when I arrived? Maybe that's the simplest and most powerful way to ensure Bali remains the island of the gods for both the people who call it home and those of us lucky enough to pass through. Thanks for watching. This was Side Notes. I'll see you in the next one.